Daf Yomi, Tractate Zevachim, page 98a, top of the page, the words Ika Denafkale, Mehacha Be'ika Denafkale, Mehacha. There is one Tana who derives it, the halacha, that only males of priestly families may eat of the communal peace offering from here, meaning the precedent mentioned explicitly with regard to the meal offering. And there is one Tana who derives it from there, meaning the amplification of the verse stated with regard to meal offerings, sin offerings, and guilt offerings. Chatas, ma chatas miskadeshes bivelua, afkod miskadeshes bivelua. The Gemara continues expounding the verse. This is the law of the burnt offering, of the meal offering, and of the sin offering, and of the guilt offering, and of the inauguration offering, and of the sacrifice of peace offerings. Sin offering teaches, just as with regard to a sin offering, whatever it touches is sanctified through the substance that becomes absorbed, so too for all offerings mentioned in this verse, whatever they touch is sanctified through the absorbed portions. Asham ma'asham ein shapir b'shilya kadosh bo Avkod ein shapir b'shilya kadosh bo kasavam valados kadashim be'viyasan hein kadoshim v'danin efsha mi sha'i efsha. Guilt offering teaches, just as with regard to a guilt offering, a fetal sac and a placenta are not sacred within it, because a guilt offering is always male, and as such never holds a fetal sac or a placenta. So too, for any of the offerings mentioned in the verse, a fetal sac and a placenta are not sacred if found within it. The Gemara notes, evidently this Tana holds that with regard to the offspring of sacrificial animals, they are sanctified only as they are from the moments of their births, but not in utero. And he also holds that one derives the possible from the impossible, so that the halacha of a fetal sac and of a placenta concerning female animals may be derived from the halacha of a male animal. Miluim, ma miluim mosreihen, Yisreiva, V'ein barichaim b'moisreihen, Avkod mosreihen b'sreiva, V'ein barichaim b'moisreihen. Inauguration offering teaches, just as with regard to the inauguration offering, the rams and the bread of that offering, which were brought during the 7 days of inauguration of the tabernacle, and which the priests ate, their leftovers were disposed by incineration, as it is stated. And if any of the flesh of the inauguration offering or of the bread remain until the morning, then you shall burn the remainder with fire. Exodus 29:34. And no living animals were among their leftovers designated for incineration, so too for all offerings mentioned, their leftovers are disposed by incineration, and there are no living animals counted among their leftovers to be incinerated. Accordingly, if one sanctifies two animals so that either one may be brought, if the other is lost, when one animal is sacrificed, the surviving animal is not killed and incinerated. Shlomim, ma shlomim mipaglim, umispaglim, afkol mipaglim, umispaglim. Peace offering teaches, just as with regard to the peace offering, its components can render an animal disqualified as an offering that was sacrificed with the intent to consume it after its appointed time, pigul, and can be rendered pigul. So too, with regard to all offerings mentioned in this verse, their components render an animal disqualified as pigul, can be rendered pigul. With regard to the verse at the center of the prior exchange, Leviticus 7:37, The Gemara states it was taught in a Braita in the name of Rabbi Akiva. From the term meal offering, it is derived just as regards to meal offering. Whatever it is touches is sanctified through the substance that becomes absorbed, as it is stated. Whatever shall touch them shall be sacred. Leviticus 6:11. So too for all offerings mentioned in this verse, whatever they touch is sanctified through the absorbed portions. The itztrich lemincha mincha. Itztrich mincha chatos. Diash mincha daidi darkicha mi bal'a. Aval chatos imela v'yesh minan chatos mishum dikarir. Aval mincha emalo tzricha. The Gemara notes that it was necessary to write the halakha of absorption with regard to a meal offering, and it was necessary to write the halakha of absorption with regard to a sin offering. As had the Torah taught us halakha only with regard to a meal offering, I would say that since it is soft, it is absorbed and therefore it sanctifies what it touches. But with regard to the meat of sin offering, I would say that it does not sanctify what it touches. And had it taught this halakha only with regard to a sin offering, I would say that because on account of its fattiness, it oozes into whatever it touches, it sanctifies it. But with regard to a meal offering, I would say it does not sanctify what it touches. Therefore, it is necessary for the Torah to write both. Chadash chatas ein avam ela min achulin b'yoyim uvayoyim v'yadav imanis af uvayoyim uv'yadav imanis av kol eina bayin ela min achulin b'yoyim Uyad Imanis Chatas min Avan, Amar Chizda Makra V'Yikra Varonis Barachatas Ashelo Mishelo V'lo Mishel Tzibur V'lo Mishel Maasel. The cited Brisa continues. Sin offering teaches just as the sin offering is brought only from non-sacred animals, and the sacrifice specifically in the daytime, and its service must be performed with the priest's right hand. So too all offerings mentioned are brought only from the non-sacred animals and are sacrificed specifically in the daytime, and each one's service must be performed with the priest's right hand. And with regard to sin offering, from where do we derive that it is brought only from non-sacred animals? Rav Chisda said, the verse states that Aaron shall present the bull of the sin offering, which is his. Leviticus 16:11. This teaches that the animal must come from his cattle, and not from the communal property, and not from money upon which the second tithe has been redeemed. B'yom tzavoto nafka kadei nazba. The Gemara asks, why is it necessary to derive from the halakha of a sin offering that an offering is sacrificed in the daytime? Is this principle derived from the conspicuous expression "one" on the day of his commanding, Leviticus 7:38, which is understood to be referring to all offerings? The Gemara answers, indeed, the Braita cited the principle from the model of a sin offering for no reason, and it was mentioned here on account of the other principles. B'yado hayimanis מדרבה בר חנה נפקא. גם רבה בר חנה אמר יש להקיש כל מקום שנאמר אצבע וכהונה אינו אלא לימין כדי נסבע. The Gemara asks, why must the Braita teach that halakha of the sin offering teaches that the rite of an offering must be performed with the priest's right hand? Is this not derived from the statement of Rabbi Bar Chana, as Rabbi Bar Chana says, that Rish Lakish says, in any place in the Torah that it is stated that an action is performed with a finger, or that it is performed by priesthood, the halakha is that the rite is performed only with the right hand. This is derived from the Torah's statement with regard to the leper, and the priest shall dip his right finger in Leviticus 14:16. The Gemara answers, the Braita decided the principle from the model of a sin offering for no reason, since it is actually derived from Rabbi Bar Chana's statement. V'i ba'is ema. So, Rabbi Shimon the Amar etzba lo baya kuhuna baya etzba. The Gemara suggests, and if you wish, say that the Tana of the Braita holds in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Shimon, who says where the verse mentions a finger, it is not necessary for the verse to mention priesthood. But where it mentions priesthood, it is necessary for the verse to mention finger in order to teach that the rite must be performed with the right hand, which is not self-evident. With regard to the assorted offerings itemized in the verse Leviticus 7:37, the Torah does not mention a finger, therefore they must be derived from the halacha of a sin offering. Asham atzmos mutarin, af kol atzmotav mutarin. The decided Braita continues. Guilt offering. The words guilt offering teaches justice with regard to a guilt offering. Its bones have no sanctity and are permitted for any use. So too with regard to any mentioned offering, its bones are permitted. Amar Rava Pshitali. Alright, we'll start the next daf there. Actually, let's go on to 98b. Amar Rava Pshitali. Rava said, it's obvious to me that, now we turn to 98b, top of the page, Rava said it's obvious that when the blood of a sin offering is below and the blood of a burnt offering is above, in a case in which the blood of a burnt offering is sprayed as a second layer on top of the blood of a sin offering that has already been sprayed and absorbed into a garment, the garment requires laundering. Back to laundering now. Okay. All right, we'll continue with Bai Rava after the break and with the next daf.